Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV, and I'm the editor here at MetaStellar. Every Friday, a few of us in the MetaStellar community read the top 10 free sci-fi and fantasy books on Amazon. Amazon doesn't make it easy to find these books, but we've got the link down below, as well as links to all 10 of the books we've reviewed here today. Joining me today was Amira Lutfi, our reviews editor, and a new member of our community, AJ McQuaig. Neither of them could be here today. Amira and I had schedule conflicts, and I forgot to ask AJ. Sorry, AJ. I hope we get you next time. So what we do is we read the first 3 chapters of the books, and we'll tell you whether we like them or not. So the links to everything are in the description box below, as well as the full article that's on MetaStellar. And if you don't want to miss any of these articles, subscribe to our newsletter. It comes out every Friday afternoon at 5 p.m., just in time for you to pick up your weekend reading, your free weekend reading. So for those who are new to our channel, MetaStellar is an online magazine of speculative fiction. All the content is always free for our readers, and we do publish original short fiction and reprints in science fiction, fantasy, and horror every week. And all the content's always free. And we also publish excerpts and essays and lots of book reviews. And we're able to do this thanks through the kind support of our Patreon contributors. And all the money that's raised goes directly to paying for emerging authors. So thanks, guys. We really appreciate it. You are good fans of the sci-fi and fantasy community. Thank you. All right, let's get started with today's books. First, we have Exile by B.K. Greenwood. And here's a story up there. It's the first book in the Last Roman historical military fantasy series. The other books are $3 and $6 each, but they're both in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited, for those who don't know, is like a Netflix for ebooks. You pay $10 a month and you read all the books you want. It's a great way to support authors because they get paid for every page read. And it's a great way to read a lot of books for a very low price. So I'm a member. I highly recommend it if you read a lot of ebooks. So Amira read this book. She says that the story starts with Marcus, a high-ranking military officer in the Roman Empire. He struggles with insomnia because he's haunted by the crucifixion of a kind-faced man from 4 years ago. He had a little qualms about the crucifixion, but he didn't say anything at the time. So the story opens in the morning at an army campsite. The Romans are scrambling to get ready for battle against a large horde of barbarians. A lot of familiar names show up if you're a student of history, including Caligula, Octavius, and Haedo. Amira says that the book felt really immersive and she really got sucked in. And she said it was an awesome opening and she would read it if she wasn't currently reading another book. Then we have a book that I read, Diving into the Wreck by Kathryn Rusch, the first of 16 books in the Diving series, a space opera. Kathryn Rusch is a USA Today best-selling author, and I've actually read a lot of her books. So the rest of the books in this particular series are $4 to $6, and they are not in Kindle Unlimited. But if you can get your hands on them, definitely worth reading. I'm also a big fan of her Retrieval Artist series, which I also recommend. She's also written books in the Star Trek and Star Wars universes and has several books out about the writing business if you want to become a sci-fi author. I check her blog every single week for writing advice. And she also posts free short stories every Monday on her website. So, and I posted a link to her website in the description box below as well. So yes, I recommend the author highly. This particular book is about a diver. So This is a woman who travels around in the spaceships and dives into old abandoned wrecks floating in space. She's looking for interesting things to salvage. Sometimes she also takes tourists out to dive these wrecks, and she's a space history buff, and she's explored over 1,000 ships. And I like her. She's kind of bitter and lonely, but that's probably not why I like her, right? I mean, it's not because like I identify with her or anything. Anyway, so sometimes she finds ships in distress and helps out if she can. She doesn't like it though. It's too fraught with emotion, and she doesn't like the mushy stuff. I really like this woman. So once she's out on a trip, she comes across an emergency distress beacon. She goes to investigate. Things go wrong, and it's pretty exciting. Like I said, I like this book. I read it. I read a lot of her books. And if you like hard science fiction, check it out. I strongly recommend it. Next, we have a book that A.J. McQuaig read, Awakening the Gods by Kristin Gleeson, the first of 3 books in the Rise of the Celtic Gods urban fantasy series. The other books are between $1 and $4 each, and they are not in Kindle Unlimited. So this is a Celtic fantasy. It starts from the point of view of, okay, I cannot pronounce his name. It's spelled Seorsi, but I think it's pronounced Shershe, maybe. Anyway, Shershe is performing in a favorite pub, and she's trying to kind of take her mind off the weight of the world that's pressing down on her. She's been fired from her bartending job, and she doesn't think her music's going to carry her far. And bills are piling up, rent's due. She doesn't want to ask her dad to bail her out again. She has her pride. But turns out that her father's dead, and she can't turn to him for help anyway. But the details about his death are very vague, and his remains are not retrieved. And people are contesting his will. So maybe she's gonna end up homeless. So plus she's seeing things. Mysterious figures haunt her, hinting at Celtic magic about to be uncovered. Then the novel switches point of view to Smithy, a character who we previously saw as a fiddler at the same bar. And he's also surrounded by unanswered questions. And Shershe has to move to his hometown unexpectedly. And it looks like he's going to be a love interest for her. Well, I could have told AJ that whenever a book switches points of view, odds are that those characters are going to end up together, which kind of like gives away the surprise. So I don't know how I feel about that trope. So AJ says that romance is not her favorite genre, but she's fallen in love with the magical elements in this book, and she's looking forward to finding out what happens next. And she says that there were a lot of plot twists early on in this book, and the author did a good job getting that level of tension in right away. And so she's looking forward to finishing the book. All right, next. What do we have next? Oh, Demelza Carlton, Broken Chains. The first of 3 books in the Heart of Stone urban fantasy series. The second book in the series is $4. And the third book is coming out this month, and it's not on Kindle Unlimited. Demelza Carlton is a frequent flyer. She's on this list nearly every week. And she has like 26 books in the Romance and Medieval Fairy Tale series, which we've reviewed over and over and over again. And she's got other fantasy series too. And I mean, she's just cranking these things out. Yeah. And people love them. So also she makes a lot of them free on a regular basis. So definitely If you want to get her books and you don't want to pay full price, keep an eye out for when they go on the free list. So Amira, if you read this book, she says it's a fast, easy read. The protagonist is a wimpy grad student who doesn't know what study to dedicate, doesn't know what she's going to major in, which is kind of weird because grad students should know. But anyway, the perspective switches to a mysterious creature that had been buried for years, and it's time for it to wake up. It's waiting. And it's waiting for, I guess, for this grad student, because one night a stranger is chasing this grad student, accusing her of theft. She runs and cries for help, and this mysterious creature hears her and comes bursting through the rocks to save her. And Demelza says, Amira says that if you like these kinds of like easy reads, it's a fun book. All right, so next we have another book that I read. Here we go. Knock Down, Dragon Out by Krystal Shannan. The first book in the 8-book Soulmate Shifters in Mystery Alaska series, a paranormal romance with shapeshifters. The rest of the books are $4 to $5 each, and they're not on Kindle Unlimited. And we reviewed this book in April. I reviewed this book in April, so I'm going to tell you what I thought about it back then. So it's a story of Cole, who's a dragon out to avenge the death of the rest of his family. He follows his enemies through to a different world, our world, and he finds his enemies attacking a woman in a forest. And he suddenly realizes that this woman is destined to be his mate. And while he's shocked by this realization, his enemies escape. So he shifts to human form, bandages up this woman, flies her to an abandoned cabin to recover. And she's lost her memory in the attack and doesn't know who she is. And they immediately fall in love and instantly start making out with lots of graphic sex. Okay, so I am not a fan of romance books. I'm not a fan of fated lovers. I am no longer a fan of shapeshifters. I used to think shapeshifters were cool, but I'm now all shape-shifted out. So I am not the target audience for this book. Yeah, the writing moves along really quickly and the story really draws you in. I mean, there's a reason why all these books are on the top 10 list. People really like them. And I can easily see coming back and finishing off this book. And I have a feeling I did come back and read a little bit more of it, but I would hate to admit it. Because again, like I said, it's not my genre. I like my sci-fi hard, and I like my characters murdering each other. All right, next we have Peacekeeper by Haedo, a box set of 4 of the 5 books in the Peacekeeper series of military sci-fi. The 5th book, which is a prequel, is also free today. So grab that prequel while you're picking this one up. So this was a really good day for hard sci-fi. I love hard sci-fi. This is my preferred genre. And in theory, this series has everything that I would want. It's set in a far future during the time of the Terran Republic and features peacekeepers, something like UN peacekeepers, but for all the different human and alien worlds that are in the Terran Republic. But the book starts so slow. I'm sorry, there's like a whole chapter of backstory about galactic history. And then we find out that Xander is one of the people on a peacekeeping vessel, and he's a sentinel. That means that he's carry arms on he's allowed to be armed on the ship and on the bridge. And then, oh no, then we have to learn all about the different settings on his laser gun. Like, no, get into the action. So, I mean, they're going somewhere to do something and it's not really clear what, and there's a lot of political backstory, and I'm having a really hard time getting into this book. I want to like it, and I do like the fact that all 5 books in the series are free today. So I'm gonna try to take another stab at it, but it is hard. Like I said, it starts really slow with a lot of dense history. All right, next is A Grave Magic by Bilinda Sheehan. The first of 8 books in the Shadow Sorcerers series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Yay. So it's an urban fantasy, and it's the story of Amber Morgan. She's a member of the elite preternatural force, and her job is to go through paperwork, sorting through potential cases to find signs of supernatural involvement. So she's a little bored with her job. She wants to be on the field. So when she gets a chance to join Graham, a more senior agent, out in the field, she ignores her orders and hops in the car and goes off with him. She has a secret. She's really a witch. And if the elite preternatural force found out, she'd be in serious trouble. And Graham suspects the secret, but he wants her to use her powers to help him with a crime scene, which is a suspected vampire attack. So I'm not really fully understanding this premise. The organization is okay with normal humans using magical spells, but they're not okay with witches using magical spells. And but on the other hand, I love the premise. I love police procedurals with supernatural elements. That crime scene is really gory. And vampire energy in the air, and that child and a dead mother, and the mother's still attacking people. So it's kind of fun. And I thought I was going to come back and finish the book, but I haven't yet. But I still might. It's still on my Kindle bookshelf. All right. Next we have the Prancestor Project by Kristine Morse. It's a standalone sci-fi thriller supposedly based on real-world science by a first-time author. And it's about an anthropology professor who found evidence of life that existed 1 billion years ago. Someone wants to murder him and steal this evidence. He has to stay alive and figure out why that civilization died so that we can keep from going extinct as well. So the premise reminds me a lot of The Extinction Threat by T.S. Falk, which was on this exact same list last month. And I read that book and I liked it. It was kind of an Indiana Jones kind of story. And I finished it. And so I had high hopes for this book going in because I like that premise. But it's kind of weird that we have multiple books with almost identical plots popping up over and over again. But I don't mind that. I mean, I love binge watching TV shows where one episode's almost the same as all the others. So, when you find a good thing that you like, why not stick with it, right? Anyway, so the book starts in the Congo, where a translator and a rich guy are visiting a village that has this ancient artifact there. And the rich guy and the translator trick the villagers into giving up. And then the rich guy poisons all the villagers so that they're dead. And he's going to plant the artifact at another site. So it looks like he discovered it legitimately. And he doesn't want any villagers around to dispute this. So really very, very bad, like an over-the-top bad guy. And then the book begins with our main character, David. He's an American professor in London giving a lecture. And he's supposed to be talking about the billion-year-old zircon crystals that he's discovered crystals that hold evidence of ancient life. But he can't give that speech because he just signed a non-disclosure agreement in return for huge amounts of money. So he gives a really bad lecture that everybody hates, that doesn't provide anything new. And he's like super awkward about it. And he seems to be a really bad lecturer, and people are kind of really unhappy with him. And I was like unhappy reading this. It's like, he's in this really unpleasant situation. He can't get out of it. It's a lot of social awkwardness. And he doesn't have the common sense or the social skills to get himself out of it. So I felt bad for this guy. And he's kind of awkward and antisocial. He freezes when he panics. He's full of self-doubt. He keeps like obsessing about his ex-wife and his mom. So I had a little bit of hard time getting into this book. After he gives this lecture, he's taking a subway somewhere, and a terrorist shows up on his subway car and opens his vest, and it's a suicide vest. He's got a bomb under it, and he threatens to blow everybody up unless David gets off the subway car with him on the next stop. But when the train rolls into the next stop, there's some cops there, and the terrorist runs away. So, which is kind of a lame beginning. I had a really hard time getting into this. I don't really find David a fun character I want to spend time with. Now, it does seem that David is neuroatypical, which the author kind of alludes to, which I commend the writer for. And I do like the premise, but it's just not written in a way that really pulled me in. Okay, next we have Gateway by Christina Garner, the first of 3 books in the Gateway trilogy, a young adult urban fantasy. The other books are $3 to $5 each, and they are not in Kindle Unlimited. Okay, so I hate young adults. I do like urban fantasy, but I'm not a fan of young people and all their angst and drama and stuff like that. And so keep in mind, I'm not the target audience for this book. And the book starts out, it's kind of grim. So Ember is a teenager who's just tried to commit suicide. She was unconscious for a couple of days, and now she's awake. She's in a psychiatric hospital because she tried to commit suicide, and she's being admitted for psychiatric treatment. And she hears voices. And so she's not like honest with the shrink about it, because she wants to get out as quickly as she can. So she's going to lie about her mental state, which is a bad thing. If you have mental health issues, tell your therapist honestly about what's going on, because they can't help you otherwise. So yeah, so that was a little frustrating for me. Then she meets her new roommate and the other teenage inmates at an institution. The book starts out really slowly. There's a lot of teenage angst and drama. Now, eventually, judging by the description on Amazon, she will discover that she has some powers, and a hell gate or something's going to open up, and she's going to have to save the world. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's going to be a Buffy style book. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but it's way too angsty for me. So not for me. But if you're somebody who likes teenage angst, there you go. Check it out. Then the last book on today's list is Logical Magic by Nicole A. Oliver, the first of 2 books in the Archimage series of young adult urban fantasy books. So another young adult urban fantasy. The other book is $4, but it's in Kindle Unlimited. So I'm a little hesitant going in. Like I said, not my favorite genre. And it's also set in a school, which I also don't like. So Sophia's on her school's debate team, and then she and the other debaters go out for coffee afterwards. There's a lot of teenage gossip about who likes who, who's going to be a boy there, who's going to ask her out, all that stuff. And they're all nerding out over comic books and video games and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. And then she bumps into this very handsome guy who keeps staring at her and looks very familiar to her, but he just sounds like a jerk. And she's certain that she's never met him before, but she keeps being drawn to him and she can't stop looking. Anyway, so the boy that one of the boys that in her group of friends asks her out, she gives him her number. There's a bunch of teenage banter about all this because she hasn't been dating much so far in high school. She's been studying. And then that night she dreams about the jerk. And then the next day, she's walking to school and a giant black dog leaps out at her from a neighbor's yard. She panics, throws up her arm, and a buzz of energy flares out, followed by a flash of light, and the dog falls back as if it hit a wall. So she thinks that the dog's owners must have one of those invisible fences, which, sounds like a reasonable conclusion. And so she walks away, and as she starts walking away, a car pulls up, and it's the jerk from the night before. And I hate it when books have jerks in them who are clearly intended to be the romantic interests. Why do women keep being drawn to jerks? Anyway, kill them, move on. So this jerk tells her that she shouldn't have stopped the dog with her magic powers. It's going to make his job harder. And she's like, yeah, right. And she blows him off. She refuses to get a ride with him to school, and she just continues walking to school like a normal person. And wouldn't you know it, the jerk has just enrolled in her school, and he's in her classes, and he sits down next to her in the first class. So on the one hand, I like Sophia. She's practical, a matter of fact. She's a bit of a nerd, which appeals to me. But the whole premise, the high school, the drama, the handsome jerk, none of that is remotely interesting to me. So it also moves really slowly. So not for me, but I do have to say the book is very, very readable. So if you like these kinds of books, check it out. All right, so that's it for today's list. Have you read any of these books? Do you plan to? Let us know in the description box below. If there's anything else you want us to check out, let us know. My email's in the description box below. So if you want to join our team, if you want to help out with book reviews or with copy editing or with judging or submitting short stories or any of the other stuff we do, absolutely get in touch. We'd love to have you. All right. And and I want to shout out thanks to our Patreon supporters. We wouldn't be here without you. Thanks very much, guys. We really appreciate it. And keep an eye out for our first anthology. It's coming out this summer as soon as we finish up the final editing. It's taken a little longer than we expected. So we'll tell you more about that soon. All right, everybody. See you next week. If you don't want to miss any of these shows, by the way, subscribe, all that stuff. All right. Bye, everybody. Happy weekend.